Today, I want to talk about something I have struggled with, and is the feeling of frustration when things don't seem to be working out, and the temptation to give up when the going gets tough. This week has been one of those weeks where I feel like nothing was working. And it's frustrating again because it makes me question everything I've done. But the important thing is that I've felt this way before. I know this feeling where it all seems way harder than I thought it would be, and I'm tempted to give up. The initial passion or hype about the new thing I was trying starts to fade away. It's exciting at the beginning because everything is new, and I'm convinced I'll stay motivated forever. But a couple of weeks or months later, I realized that if I want to make a living out of a given project, it's going to take time and be much harder than I thought. I remember having a sales job in Guatemala when I was 21. A friend of mine who got me into it was doing great, and I projected myself into his success, wanting the same outcome. This was uninformed optimism. I didn't know anything about the actual work and went all in, only to find out that selling is really hard. And once I learned the ins and outs, it became informed pessimism. It felt horrible because it wasn't easy. I actually needed to work my ass off to get the results I wanted. And I continued for a bit more, but felt more and more discouraged every day because it wasn't working the way I expected. And I was sure it wasn't my fault. But looking back, it was. I didn't try hard enough. And eventually I jumped to the next opportunity, starting the cycle over again, meaning getting to the stage of uninformed optimism, followed by informed pessimism, and then dropping out. I kept looking at shiny new opportunities, projecting myself onto those who had already made it to the top, thinking it was easy for them. But the difference between those who made it and me is that they didn't give up when they reached the informed pessimism stage. Now I'm asking myself, am I just going through informed pessimism and finding out it's way harder than I thought? Do I just need to push through to reach the next stage, which is informed optimism, and then achieving my goal? Or am I looking for an excuse to stop pushing and find the next shiny opportunity? A couple of years ago, I tried selling a course online. It didn't work out. I had tried for about 3 months selling a digital product on how to sell digital products, even though I had never sold digital products in my life. So how was I supposed to teach people to do something I hadn't done myself? Again, it didn't work out. So at least I learned that it's much easier to sell something when you have done it yourself. It's like being a personal trainer who's not in shape, trying to train others to get in shape. How can I trust someone's credibility when they haven't achieved the outcome I want? My life has been like this for a couple of years, living the same 6 months over and over again, feeling like I have learned a lot, but nothing at the same time. I don't want it to be like this anymore. This episode is about documenting how I feel about the opportunity I'm pursuing now. It's been 3 to 4 months, and I'm exactly where I've been before. And I don't want to give up because it's harder than I thought. This is what hard feels like. To give up is easy. I've done it many times. But it feels like hell later on for not sticking to the plan. There's always a risk of not achieving the goal. But I've understood that to be good at something requires so much work and repetition. And it would happen overnight, not even in 6 months. Because every successful example I see in any industry has been around for at least 5 years of consistent work. And 5 years is a short period. But I hadn't been conscious enough of this to make things work I used to want success overnight, and when it didn't happen, I got discouraged and gave up. Now I'm convinced there are many simple ways to make money, no matter the business. The successful people I look up to have one thing in common: time and focus. And they did the thing that mattered for a long time, making it almost impossible not to succeed. It does not matter what the business is. It's mundane repetition over years that makes experts. Not 2, 3, 4, or even 5 different businesses, but one. Giving it all for that one thing that really matters. And it's not that hard to get good at many things, but becoming excellent requires doing one thing over and over. The 10,000 hour rule makes sense to me because it suggests that after 20 hours of practice per week for 10 years, someone can reach real expertise. So, how many hours will it take to become an expert in more than 2 things, for instance? It's obvious that expertise comes after 10,000 hours of doing the same thing, because quantity drives quality. And I used to question how to achieve quality, but it's as simple as doing the same thing many times. By sheer repetition, you get better. Climbing the ladder of success becomes easier because there is no quality without quantity. And quantity means hour, time. It's technically impossible to become an expert in many things because we only have so many hours. So now I'm trying to measure my success in decades instead of months or even years. It's hard because a decade feels like a long time, but a lot can change in 10 years. I imagine how would it be like if I stopped jumping from opportunity to opportunity and stuck to one thing for a decade. Doing one thing so many times that the odds of failing are almost zero, because time allows for both cognitive and physical development. Skills are honed, neural pathways are strengthened through repetitive, focused practice. And that's my main focus right now. So much quantity that in the long run, it's inevitable to succeed, and my brain can process a decade. It feels weird to think that far ahead, but eventually I'll get there just by not dying. And I don't want to reach that point without being an expert at something because I was too stubborn to stick to one thing. I value being an expert at one thing more than being good at many things. And it would be a shame not to reach the next level at anything. And yes, there are exceptional people who seem to achieve success at a young age, but you never know what happened behind the scenes. Time drives success because it allows the compounding effect to work its magic. And this applies to any field, simple or complex. There's always someone who became successful after a long time of pure repetition. So the key takeaway is that becoming an expert requires sustained, deliberate effort over time. And I'd rather be an expert at one thing than good at many things. Because trying to be good at many things has not worked for me. Maybe that's my problem. Not making a deliberate effort to focus on one thing long enough to become so good at it that I can make a living from it. And I'm just getting started. But I'd rather achieve expertise by the time I'm 36, given the 10,000 hour rule, than never achieve it, or achieve it much later by thinking I can focus on many things. We only have so many hours, to choose wisely how to spend them. because time passes on and it's not waiting for anyone. And I feel young, but when I was 16, I thought people my age, 26, had everything figured out and were successful. How wrong I was. And I don't want to keep moving the bar a decade further, not achieving my goals by not taking action. I don't want to keep living the same 6 months over and over again. Yo soy Bruno, and I'll see you in the next one.